The chapter opens with a young, dark-haired man in the desert. Another man with him, named Sebas, asks him to please return to the castle. The young man, a bit annoyed, repeats that he should stop appearing out of nowhere, until Sebas informs him that General Dominique has just died. There's not much evidence to confirm he was murdered, but if he was, they may not find the killer. Hearing this convinces the young man to return, but not before completing his mission. He changes his clothes, as he turns out to be a prince pretending to be an adventurer. Sebas understands he's doing this to avoid being discovered, but he warns him not to take too many risks. Calling him the seventh prince of the Adracia Empire, Arnold Rix Adler tells us that because his younger brother was born talented, he's called the Bland Prince, which only motivates him more to do as he pleases. Also, his adventurer name is Silver, a double S class. Later, he arrives at the guild, where he hands over the horn of the King Minotaur. The receptionist pays him, saying it's an honor to have one of the 5 double S class adventurers in the capital. Since money isn't that important to Silver, he often gives part of it to buy drinks, and asks for priority on the toughest missions. After this, he goes to an alley to return to his normal form and open a portal to the Imperial Castle. There, he meets his brother, the 8th Imperial Prince, Leonard Rex Adler, Butler Sebas, and Maid Mary. Arnold asks to know what happened to Dominic. Leonard mentions it was his fault for having him as an ally. Arnold lists several names that could have killed him, but they still don't know who it was. Arnold's priority is to avoid a family conflict, but if he doesn't fight for the throne, they'll kill him too, just like they did with his mother and Arnold. That said, Leonard decides to fight for the throne. Arnold supports his goal, advising him to gather strength so he won't be in danger. For his part, he will seek allies, but the most powerful are from noble families or ministers in the top 3 factions. Leonard mentions that Arnold would make a better emperor, but that's not the life his brother wants. Later, Sebas asks why he doesn't reveal he's Silver of double S class. Arnold explains that his great-grandfather became obsessed with ancient magic, to the point of madness, making magic a taboo in royalty, and it wouldn't be good for them to know he uses it. Sebas adds that Silver is the most powerful in the kingdom's history, but it's best for Arnold that no one knows his identity. That said, he asks Sebas about any duke involved in the struggle, to which he replies that the Kleiner house had no choice due to monsters appearing on their land, so Arnold thinks of sending Silver to help them and collect a favor, but that would raise suspicion about his relationship with Leonard. Arnold doesn't mind, as if they think that, they'll hesitate to attack him. So Arnold changes his clothes, and Sebas suggests he be careful, also informing him that the daughter of Duke Kleiner is Blau Mue. The protagonist remembers her as the woman who received the blue seagull pin from his father. Sebas confirms this, urging him not to be swayed by her charms. This irritates Arnold, who tells him to stop being so annoying all the time. Sebas apologizes, but reminds him that's why he was hired. Well, putting that aside, Arnold puts on the mask and says goodbye to Sebas. Now at the Kleiner mansion, our protagonist talks to a blonde man, introduces himself as Silver, and asks to see the Duke. Upon hearing his name, the man laughs, saying if he had expected his visit, the guild would have informed him, so to save time, he tells him to go home. Silver was about to show his adventurer card, but the man says it's unnecessary and that he should leave at once. This angers Silver, so he makes it clear he's there on direct orders from Prince Leonard, and that his attitude is a complete insult to both the prince and himself. The blonde man doesn't care and again orders him to leave. At that moment, our protagonist notices a young lady watching him from one of the mansion's windows, which is why he decides to leave, thinking on the way that she is definitely beautiful. Back at the mansion, Sebas greets him while having tea. Arnold walks to his desk and informs him they will go to the Kleiner mansion as soon as possible. Sebas asks if he hasn't returned from there, and Arnold replies no, that was Silver. But this time, Prince Arnold will be the one to present himself, and then the Duke will have no choice but to beg Leo. Sebas points out that his attitude seems villainous. Arnold silences him and orders him to prepare immediately, as it will take 5 days by horse to reach the mansion. After 5 days of travel, our protagonist is now meeting with Duke Kleiner. Confused by his visit, the Duke asks why he's here. Arnold replies he wants to discuss compensation. The Duke asks what he means. Arnold reminds him that even though Leo didn't want this, the situation calls for their support. He shouts if he doesn't remember when Leo helped by sending Silver, a double S rank adventurer, to deal with the monsters. The Duke stands up, surprised, and asks if he's sure about this. This infuriates Arnold, who yells if he dares to question him. Sebas asks him to calm down, as it seems the Duke was unaware of the situation. Arnold decides the case. Arnold decides to listen, so keeping calm, he gives the Duke more time to gather information. Once the Duke leaves, Sebas comments on how well the ruse went. Arnold replies it wasn't quite like that, as someone from that mansion actually kicked Silver out. It's the only thing he can do for his brother, even if it tarnishes his own reputation. Suddenly, they hear shouting from across the room as the Duke and his son enter, apologizing. Indeed, 5 days ago, adventurer Silver arrived at the mansion, but his son denied him entry. Seeing the Duke scold his son, Arnold reminds him that his children's mistakes are also his. As compensation for ruining the deal with Silver, he asks for something valuable for his family. At that moment, a young lady offers herself as compensation, introducing herself as Finn von Kleiner, pleading for her family's forgiveness. Hearing this, her father and brother try to stop her, begging the prince not to take her away. Sebas also suggests to the prince that he should calm his anger and talk to Leonard first to see what to do. Arnold hesitates, fearing he might end up forgiving them. Sebas comments that if that's the case, they can't do anything, as that's what draws people in. With no other choice, Arnold orders them to send someone to find Silver. Inside an inn, Arnold and Finn meet with Silver. The young lady deeply apologizes for her family's insolence. Silver clarifies that there's no need to apologize, as he understands her family is quite incompetent. Arnold then asks if he's willing to resume the mission. Silver replies yes, but first he needs to confirm something. He asks if he got the Duke's family on his side. Arnold answers that they promised nothing. In response, Silver compares him to his brother, who would be capable, making it clear he won't help unless the Duke confirms his support with a signature. Given the situation, Arnold asks him to eliminate the monsters anyway. Silver comments that it's not easy to trust a bland prince. Arnold acknowledges that he isn't, but still bows his head, pleading for him to do it. Seeing this, Finn is stunned. Silver also remarks that it seems he lacks all the pride royalty should have. Arnold admits he's not trustworthy, but still needs him to eliminate the monsters. Under pressure, Silver finally agrees. After all, his role as an adventurer forbids him from leaving the monsters free. However, he tells Finn he hopes to count on the Duke's family. Finn is delighted to hear this, promising they will meet his expectations. As they were about to get into the carriage, Sebas highlights how extraordinary it was to create a false image of Silver with illusion magic. Arnold comments that, as expected, it worked, and now she's convinced it was really him. During the ride, Finn thanks Arnold for bowing his head for the sake of his subjects, recognizing that he's not as terrifying as he's often labeled. Arnold denies doing it for them. Finn agrees but still prefers to think he did it for her. Seeing her face as she says this, Arnold has a brief memory of his past, which embarrasses him. Later, facing a bunch of slimes, Sebas asks what came to his mind at that moment, if it was the meteor shower he saw with his mother and siblings as kids. If for some reason Lady Finn's smile reminded him of that joy, Arnold asks him to stop saying nonsense, so Sebas apologizes. Watching the slimes multiply, Sebas informs him that 2 A-rank adventurers and 4 B-class ones were sent to neutralize the threat, but they couldn't solve it. Given that, Silver heads to the location to finish this immediately. We now move to the center of the problem, where the adventurers are dealing with the slimes. Silver appears, and the team leader introduces himself as Abel, an A-class adventurer, mentioning that although they heard about him from the Duke, they can't leave as adventurers. Silver assures he understands this, so Abel asks why someone like him accepted this mission. In the conversation, another adventurer joins, informing that Mother Slam has grown too large, so they had to retreat. Arnold mentions that if they wish, he can stay out of it, but he must inform the guild and request an emergency, so he will take charge of that new mission. Seeing he's serious, Abel concedes and gives him free rein to do as he wishes. Sylvia then congratulates them for holding off the problem for quite some time, and without further ado, heads to deal with the slimes. At that moment, she begins to cast ancient magic. The adventurers are stunned to hear this. Once the spell is cast, a powerful fire spell engulfs the area, confirming the annihilation of all the slimes, including the mother. Silver asks the others to handle the report, but Abel questions if he's sure, since he saved the Duke's demons. Silver makes it clear he's not interested in being a hero and simply walks away. Later that afternoon, back home, Arnold takes off his mask, feeling quite satisfied, but then hears Finn's confused voice recognizing him as Prince Arnold. In a panic, Arnold asks why she came in. Finn replies that she prepared some desserts and thought she'd leave them on the table since he wasn't home. Arnold realizes she meant no harm, but still tells her she can't leave. Finn promises not to tell anyone he's Silver, but of course, she says this all while shouting. Arnold lets her know, but also mentions he set up a soundproof barrier so no one can hear them. With that, he approaches her and asks if she really doesn't fear he might do something, like silencing her by force. Finn confidently assures him he would never do that, but she would accept it if he did. Arnold is amazed by her trust in him. Finn continues, saying he's the hero who protected her lands, and then, thinking it over, she realizes that everything he's done, like talking to Silver, was a setup to support Leonard, which makes her see he's a good person. Arnold clarifies that Sebas is the only one who knows his secret, so he'll know if it leaks. Finn reassures him that she understands perfectly. Sitting on the couch, Arnold feels down for ruining his lifelong secret this way. One night, he goes to see the Duke, who is in a meeting with the adventurers from that morning. They report on the job, and just as they're about to receive an extra reward, they decline it, claiming they didn't eliminate the root of the problem. When they leave, the Duke thanks our protagonist for the help, promising that his family will support Leonard in reaching the throne. He then asks Arnold if he's missing any names, to which our protagonist replies yes. In that case, the Duke offers his daughter, explaining that yesterday, Finn insisted on settling her family debt with him, and he believes that being the famous Blau mode, she will be very helpful. Arnold asks if he's really sure, and the Duke sadly replies yes, as he saw she matured. As they leave in the carriage, Arnold asks if she's sure about going through with this. Finn replies yes, and thinks this is the best way for her to keep an eye on him, to which Arnold coldly responds, he'd prefer she stay home. After 5 days, we return to the Imperial Sword Castle. Leonard is surprised that Arnold managed to contact Silver. He apologizes for getting ahead of himself, but Leonard isn't bothered due to the trust he has in his brother. Arnold mentions that the mission was successful, but that doesn't mean they can trust or rely on Silver. Leonard agrees, but thanks to Silver, they have the Duke on their side, so he must be a good person. He also asks about the person who came with him, and Finn enters the room saying it's an honor to meet him. She adds that Arnold told her he's very kind. Hearing this, Leonard invites her for tea to hear what else Arnold said about him, and now that they've met, he asks Arnold what role Finn will play in this. Our protagonist replies that she'll handle negotiations, so she'll need to come to the mansion often to confirm that the Clainers are on their side. He also asks Leonard if they have more potential allies, but the strongest ones have already been taken. At this, Finn asks about the 3 contenders. Leonard asks Arnold if he hadn't told her, since Finn asked him everything, but never any of that. Here we learn that the second prince, Eric Regs Atler, 28 years old, is in charge of the military and is famous for his intellect. Following him is the third prince, Gordon Rex Atler, 26 years old, the most powerful in the army and with a great taste for the battlefield. Lastly, there's the second princess, Sandra Lexadrar, 22 years old, talented in magic and highly respected in the empire. These 3 have expanded their influence in the race for the throne, being a politician, a military leader, and a mage. Each sibling has strong allies, but now the nobility is trying to win their favor. This struggle for the throne began when their older brother, Wilhelm, died in battle 3 years ago, and for Arnold, the most reliable candidate is Leonard. At that moment, the maid Marie enters to deliver a letter stating that Duke Savrit supports Sandra and Duke Paulman is backing Gordon. Both dukes are part of giant corporations, so it's likely their alliance is for money, something they can't compete against. However, now they have the Clainers. For now, Arnold will unpack after the long trip, and 2 days later, Finn asks him to show him the capital. He replies that it draws attention, so he puts on glasses to disguise himself, but when that doesn't convince Finn, he puts on a disguise, including a hood. Seeing the ridiculous outfit, Arnold asks who came up with that idea. Finn proudly replies it was Sebes, who also told him that while he was with him, they wouldn't need guards. Arnold calls Sebes, quite annoyed, but he doesn't show up, leaving Arnold no choice but to accept. However, he mentions it will be a short tour, as he assumes there are many requests to see her. Finn denies having received those requests, which Arna understands immediately. After all, she's one of the king's favorites, but to avoid wasting time, they start the tour. Finn asks about the different shops in the city until he suddenly catches a peculiar scent. Arna points out a stand selling medicinal tests and asks if he wants to try, warning him first that they're bitter. Finn suggests they go somewhere else. Before that, Arnold tells him to call him Aru from now on. To avoid being discovered, Finn excitedly agrees, promising to always do so. After this, they sit down to eat, while Arnold describes each building. As Finn tries the sandwich, she asks what kind of cheese it has. Arnold teases her, saying it's from inferior Minotaur. Yes, how bad it is, but he quickly clarifies it's goat cheese. Finn gets a bit annoyed, but continues eating anyway. While she does, Arnold shares that he used to sneak out of the castle to play with kids in the park. Hearing this, Finn feels a bit envious, since she has very few childhood friends. Arnold encourages her, saying she can make friends from now on, but she must always be careful, as there are bad people who will try to harm her. Finn is touched by these words, promising to treasure them for life. At that moment, some kids splash water on her dress, so Arnold immediately takes her away from the spot. When they reach the clothing store, Finn asks our protagonist what she should wear, but he replies anything is fine. Finn asks about a dress she likes, so Arnold picks a white one. While she changes, the seller talks to Arnold quite confidently. Our protagonist asks him not to tell anyone about today. The seller promises he won't, but still feels curious about what will happen, as it's not usual to see him out with women, asking if he's finally settled down. Arnold simply ignores him and waits for Finn to come out. When she shows her dress, our protagonist feels a bit embarrassed, enough to look away. The seller doesn't waste time and asks about the payment. Arnold replies that he'll send Sebas later. The seller agrees without issue and wishes them good luck on their youthful date. The date continues, but Finn doesn't want it to end, so Arnold lets her see her last store. However, some nobles arrive to bother our protagonist. The main one is the eldest son of the Duke, Halswick von Guido, who doesn't care that Arnold belongs to royalty because no one cares about a bland prince, especially not one who's Leonard's brother, as he doesn't have the royal family's stature. Guido starts hitting him with his cane, but no one does anything until Finn arrives. Guido mistakes her for his servant until she reveals she's Finn of the Kleiner family, and he tells her it's a disgrace as a Halsworth son, also deceiving her by saying he isn't Arnold. Arnold plays along with Leonard's hairstyle, pretending to be him, which makes Guido apologize, but Arnold says he won't do anything, just asking him to leave. Humiliated, he walks away. Arnold mentions that Guido might want revenge on Finn now, and asks her not to put herself in danger again. She apologizes for acting that way, but our protagonist also thanks her for defending him and apologizes for ruining her date. Finn says it's fine, suggesting they go out again another day, which Arnold doesn't deny. Days later, they are called to a meeting, but this doesn't happen often, so they can only expect bad news, and inside the room are all the princes and the king himself. In front of them is Emperor Johannes Rex Adler and Chancellor Franz. Present are the second Prince Eric, second Princess Sandra, third Prince Gordon, fourth Prince Throgood, fifth Prince Carlos, sixth Prince Connard, seventh Prince Arnold, eighth Prince Leonard, and ninth Prince Henrik. Yes, there are too many princes. After them are the younger ones, third Princess Crystal and 10th Prince Rupert. All the children, except for first Princess Lieselette, are here to protect the border. Gordon asks why they were called, saying he'd gladly join if it's for war. Sandra laughs at him for even thinking that, to which he replies that a weak mage will never understand a warrior's honor. Eric intervenes to apologize to the king for the scandal, but he also laughs at his children's rivalry, as that's how he became emperor. That said, he mentions he'll make them compete against each other. It won't be a strength contest, as the younger ones will also participate. And he tells them about a festival called the House of Knights. Eric asks if it's the festival where the Imperial Guards hunt the biggest, strangest monsters. Chancellor Franz agrees, noting they used to be held frequently, but stopped due to the number of talented adventurers. That's when Eric asks if the guild will let them do their job. However, they've already been given permission since all the guilds are having issues. Gordon asks what the prize will be and suggests the title of Crown Prince. His Majesty finds this amusing because it's too direct, but they can't choose the next king with a festival like that, so he'll award the title of Extraordinary Ambassador instead. This still catches everyone's attention. The king will choose impartially what their title will be, and only asks them to put on an unforgettable festival, ending the meeting. Leonard thinks Arnold should win the title, but doubts he can befriend other nations, and he urges Leonard to win the house. He replies that he will, but fighting within the family depresses him. He doesn't plan to give up, as if he loses, the future for all who support him will be bleak. However, he needs his brother and Finn's help. That night, Arnold talks to Sebas about how frustrating everything has become, but then Finn shows up with the opposite opinion, believing Leonard is capable enough. Arnold agrees but adds that they're also in trouble, as if one of their rivals becomes the Extraordinary Ambassador, he'll be out of the running for the throne. Finn understands the gravity of the situation, so he shouts that they need to do something. In response, Arnold mentions the goal will be to hunt the strangest monsters. Sebas adds that the event will take place in the eastern region, as that's where the monsters are causing the most damage. Arnold immediately suspects it was his father's doing to let monsters loose in the area. After hearing all this, Finn proposes a plan for him to come in first. Sebas clarifies that the goal now will be to pretend to be ineffective while doing everything possible for Leonard to win. With that, Arnold suggests bringing some monsters to the east, like Silver. Finn refuses, as it would mean danger for the villagers. The protagonist says, "Ah, you're right," and with a smile, asks him to keep sharing his thoughts. Finn doesn't quite understand what he meant, so Sebas explains that he meant he likes her just the way she is. Finn is happy to hear this, and immediately goes to get more tea. Once alone, Sebas informs him that the guild is trying to contact Silver, which confuses Arnold a bit. The next day, he speaks with the guild receptionist. She explains that a mutant Cerberus appeared nearby, but since it's a AAA mission, they need his help. Silver accepts without any problem, although deep down, he can't help but murmur that it's a hassle. A hassle. We move to the threat's location. Silver dodges the Cerberus's attack and counters with fire magic, but as expected, it doesn't harm it, so he attacks again with a more powerful spell, which ends up disintegrating the monster. Yes, he went a bit overboard, and with the mission complete, he was thinking of returning to the guild. However, suddenly a woman appeared with soldiers asking if he was responsible for the explosion. Arnold was about to answer, but he recognizes her as Elna von Armsburg, daughter of the Supreme Archduke and commander of the Third Ogimiento. She asks him again if he was the one who defeated that Cerberus. To this, Arnold laughs, asking if she's blind. He isn't bothered, but recognizing him as Silver, the AAA adventurer asks if he's provoking his family by claiming the title of Guardian of the Capital. Silver clarifies that he's not interested in such things, as unlike his family, who cares about prestige, he has no interest in trivial matters. This infuriates her, and she was about to draw her sword, but that's when Silver mentions he defeated the Cerberus only at the guild's request, though now it seems she was planning to hunt him down if he failed, which could be seen as provoking the guild. Elna denies it, but one of her soldiers suggests they leave. Elna storms off, humiliated. Silver, feeling unhinged, laughs at finally getting back at Elna, since he could never win an argument with her, though it made her his enemy. Days later, Arna waits a visitor, hoping it's not Elna. Sebas tells him not to act that way. He explains that the Armsburgs are descendants of heroes, but Elna is a prodigy who joined the regime at 11 and became a commander at 14. Arnold admits she's good, but her attitude is overwhelming, though they say she's well-behaved. Arnold insists she's just pretending and will never forget when he met her. Back then, they were 7. Elna found him crying after being bullied and called him a coward before beating him up as training. Since that day, he sought places to play without running into Elna, who took away his confidence, calling her a demon. Unfortunately, Elna arrives, asking who's calling her a demon, and Arna forgets Sebas, pointing out that the demon has appeared. Sebas ignores her and lets her in. Elna introduces herself as the commander of the 3rd Regiment, and says she'll be at his service, noting she hasn't changed at all. Arnold just asks what she's doing here, to which Sebas replies, "The king chose this regiment for him," and Elna also requested to work with Arnold, wanting to annoy him and promising to help him earn that title. The next day, Finn takes care of him, since Elna will return in the afternoon. Finn asks if Silver isn't as capable as her, explaining that Silver specializes in magic, but is physically weak from never training. Finn is surprised, thinking all adventurers are in good shape. Arnold justifies himself, saying he compensates by using ancient magic. Even Sebas considers him cowardly, but thinks it could be an opportunity for Leonard to take power. Finn asks what he means by that. Arnold explains that even if he's not the strongest knight, if he wins, no one will credit his skills, but it would be best if Leonard wins. Still, Arnold makes it clear that Leonard should win. Finn doesn't fully understand his reasons, but Sebas suspects it's because he doesn't want to work as an ambassador, warning him that Elna will scold him. This annoys Arnold, prompting Finn to confess he'd also like a childhood friend who cares about him. Arnold retorts, advising against it since it's a hassle, especially Elna, who's a meddler. Elna overhears this, having brought medicine for pain, but sees he doesn't need it. Instead of apologizing, Arnold boasts that he was treated by someone much better. Upon realizing it's Finn, the girls introduce themselves, and Elda mentions she never thought she'd meet her in Arnold's class and not Leo's. Setting aside introductions, she grabs Arnold and takes him to train. So we see how our poor protagonist is beaten all afternoon, which he deserves for being a troublemaker. That night, he returns to the palace and, upon reaching a hallway, opens a secret door leading to a room. There, he asks someone if they're still researching ancient magic, revealing it to be the Elder. If you've made it this far, comment the word childhood to let me know. Here on screen, I leave you these 2 cool videos, just like the person watching this. See you next time. Take care, drink water, shower, and bye-bye.